Hello and welcome back to Print Island and to the Lighthouse here on the top corner, the northwest corner. I always think it is on the island. My name is Richard Askam. I am the Lighthouse keeper, and I have this wonderful view from my little part of the island of the whole print industry. And I also get to invite some very lovely people to join me and see what they can see as well. And today is no exception. And I have my old friend Kevin O'Donnell. Good morning. I was going to say good afternoon, but it is still morning, isn't it?
Just.
Just so. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. All go at the Big Red X as usual. We're looking forward to a really strong close for the year. You know, everybody's back from holiday this morning. I see all the kids have gone back to school, so we can expect traffic jams on the motorways, and things are interesting as always. You know, if it wasn't the print industry and it wasn't interesting, then I suppose neither you and I would be here. So
yeah, well, there is that. There is that. And we have all gone, I don't know when this happened, but we have all gone a little bit French, haven't we, and taken the whole of August off. When did that? And as you say, back to school today, it does feel like the first day of term, doesn't it?
Well, I thought the French had it right by taking off all of August, but a few years ago when I was given the Nordics as a geography, they take about 5 or maybe 6 weeks off around midsummer. So
yeah. Okay.
The Nordic is the model.
That's the Nordic is the new French. Okay, well you heard it here first. So, and listen, for anybody out there in the world, and I don't believe there's a single person out there in the world that doesn't know who you are, but give us the 2-minute flyby of the history of Kevin O'Donnell.
Oh goodness me! Well, Kevin O'Donnell, I work for Xerox. Have done for quite a few years. I was looking the other day; it's about 30 something years. So
wow.
Man and boy, I know. Where did that go?
You've still got all your hair though, Kev, so that's good.
Yes, well, as I say to many people, you have to look after it. I take it off every night and give it a system, and it looks after itself. But no, I've been at Xerox a number of years, and I always, I started off in work in the IT industry, and quite soon I found myself in the world of print, digital print. And I can honestly say I've never looked back. It's an industry that, it's a bellwether industry. It follows trends. It's technology, but it's also business. It's very vibrant. It's very gregarious. It covers such a broad spectrum of disciplines. So whether, just on the face of it, whether you're a book printer at one end, or a packager at the other, or a commercial printer, or a transactional, or a marketer, and all of the other things as well. And even, if you're hand tooling the St. James's Bible in your garden shed, you're one of us as well. It's such a fantastic industry to be part of. And I genuinely feel very grateful. They always say, that you either are born into it or you join it by accident.
Right.
And I'm sort of a bit of a hybrid. My wife's family are all printers.
Okay.
I sort of fell into it as well, so I don't know which camp I.
Well, there's always 2 degrees of separation, isn't there? But
Exactly.
Wherever you are in the world and you meet somebody and they're either in print or they know somebody that's in print,
Yes.
and that's kind of your point, really, is the ubiquity of the industry is not almost aligned with the singularity that we use to describe it, the print industry. What does that mean? When you say the car industry, people understand what that means. We make cars, and there's very little left and right of that. We just make cars. But when you say the print industry, which is bigger than the car industry worldwide, but it covers, it's a very broad church, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think your point's a good one. I think if someone said, I'm in the transport industry, you would say, oh, what part? And then you say cars or lorries or trains or planes or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you say the print, everybody goes, oh, okay.
What, newspapers?
And they never ask that supplementary question.
Yeah, exactly. And
no,
I don't. Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, and I know it's a little bit of cliche, but people say, "Oh, it's the people in the industry. It's the people in the industry," and I'm a great believer in that. I was in an event last week, and there were customers there. There were non-customers. There were suppliers. There were competitors. There were consultants, journalists, and everything. And it's just a very, very friendly vibe. We compete, we'll fight and scrap with the best of them, but there's a time and a place to do that. And it really reminded me, not that I need reminding, but it really reminded me how gregarious and integrated that we actually are. I think the challenge is getting us all facing and pushing in the same way, not in sort of slightly different areas. But no, would I change my career into different environment? Well, maybe I would, but I can't think of anywhere. Seriously, I can think of a few places I might like to.
Yeah.
I like to work in, but generally, I'm really thankful for finding. I don't know whether I found it or it found me.
Well, you never ask. That's always the best thing, is my view. But it does actually, and you made a good point, really, and highlighted really why I created Print Island. Was it came from the very notion that you've just identified, and although you've identified it as a positive, it can also be a negative as well. Let me explain. I did this speech a few years ago now, 2017, where it was called The Amazing Adventures on Print Island. And because I'm an external sort of voyeur of the industry that's been invited in and welcomed in, which I'm thank you. That I'm very pleased to be part of that world, but I don't come from that world. I come from the drinks industry, as you know. So in theory, I come from labeling, really. So I could argue that I probably am from the print industry. But the one thing I noticed when I did this speech all those years ago was how wonderfully collaborative, how wonderfully innovative, how wonderfully gregarious, as you rightly say, the industry is, but not particularly communicative.
Yes.
Unless it's to somebody from the industry. So my point and my sort of finger poke was, it's lovely that you've got all of this, but nobody else seems to know other than you. And if it's like you're all living on an island, this is where the metaphor came from. So here I am back in 2025 with Print Island, really with kind of the same problem, because I wonder whether that friendliness, that warmth, that gregariousness, if that's a word, is stopping people speaking to strangers. And by strangers I mean consumers, people that don't live on the island. Do you still see that?
Yes and no. By the way, there are some fantastic print businesses, and they might not even call themselves print businesses, but at their heart is still marks on paper. But there are some fantastic businesses that reach out, that you can't see the join between themselves, their clients, the markets their clients serve, the services they're offering, the curiousness. I don't know if that's a word. The curiousness they have to get really close to their client and find out, what makes their client tick, what keeps their client awake at night, the direction of travel that their client's going. They are out there, and they're absolutely fantastic businesses. And every time I bump into and chat to any one of these people, I learn something, and it's fantastic. And there's also, however, there's a lot of. By the way, they're fantastic companies as well, and they're really good at manufacturing. They're, at their heart, they're really, really good, cool manufacturers. They always deliver on time. They always deliver to budget. They always deliver this. But their foundation is one of manufacture. But I wouldn't say that's it. But as long as they do that, then they've done a great job. And by the way, they absolutely have. I think, though, in today's world, you've got to be curious about your client. Initially, you've got to find out what makes them. Why are they printing this? Why bother? Do it online. Why are you going to the trouble of getting it printed? Well, we always have. I think has disappeared. It used to be the case. Oh yeah, we've always done this. I think nowadays, there's a reason why they do it, because producing something in print, like anything, but it's physical, it's tangible, but it takes effort. You've got to engage designers, you've got to engage creatives, you've got to put it through pre-press, you've got to go and select a substrate, you've got to get the timing right, you've got to get, and on and on and on. So there is a reason for doing it, and I think you've got to get into the mindset and the head of the client to find out why. Because once you've found out the why, what tends to happen is there's other things that you can offer and do. There's other things that there's other things and services you can offer that takes the weight off the end client. Gone are the days where, and you'll remember, in every business, particularly big businesses, they had print buyers. Print buyers were print professionals, and they knew the insides and outsides of all the production and everything. Nowadays, it tends to be, all the digital activities are where everybody wants to be, and, all the young generation Zs and Xs and all these sort of things. That's where they want to be, and woe betide if you're given print. Oh dear. What a great opportunity to be, the arm around the shoulder, the hand in the small of the back, supporting that person to say, I can make you look good in your business. Not by just delivering good quality and on time and on budget, but actually making a difference and impact on the bottom line. And it's that ability, to cross that divide. And I think you're quite right, actually, Richard. We're very good at talking to ourselves. It's crossing that divide and getting into the mindset of the customer, not putting the burdens of the print process into the mind of the customer.
I think that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is to not get bogged down in the process, and to a certain, it's a bit like your car, isn't it? You meet the guy that's fixing your car. You don't really need to understand what he's done. You just need to know that he's done it.
Yes. And if he says to you, we were talking about holidays earlier on. Have you got a big trip coming up? Yeah, I'm going on holiday on Saturday, and I was hoping to use this car.
Yes.
Okay. So would it help if I could only fix it? I'll tell you what, I'll give it the once over as well. Make sure the water's right and the oil's topped up and the tyres are pumped up. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's the service, isn't it? I mean, it takes me back 40 years, maybe more, to my dad. When we were in the drinks business, and his greatest moments in any day were when he sold something to somebody that they didn't know they needed. And that service, sort of that wraparound service, is it's probably a bit old hat, but it feels as though it needs to make a comeback.
Yeah, and your example of your dad, and they would thank him for it. Because they never realised. Oh, I never thought of that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what good service is, isn't it? And in many ways, and I'll sort of rephrase the question. Really, do we need to get better? I appreciate some are better. There's always a spectrum of behaviour. I get that completely, and I'm being disingenuous by suggesting everybody is rubbish. I don't mean that at all.
No, they're not.
But within that spectrum, follow my leader is never a bad sort of thing to have. You look at the companies that are doing it well. You look at the print manufacturers, or what embellish, whatever they are, wherever they sit under that great big umbrella of the print industry. You look at the ones that are doing it well, and typically they are much closer to the end user of the print, not the supply chain. I'm talking about the guy sitting in his house that's just unboxed his Apple iPhone and gone, "This is amazing." Somebody's printed that.
Yes.
So do we have to get better? Do we have to continue to strive to get better, to show the world what this wonderful industry is capable of?
We do. I think we need to be a little careful that we're not just becoming a look how fantastic we are, and you should be lucky to have that box. And wonderfully it's manufactured, and the unboxing. It's not that at all. There's a phrase that was around a little while ago. You should focus on the outcome, not the output. And that to me is still stands very relevant. It's about, as you say, it's about connecting with the end client. And if the end client likes what they do, guess what? They'll do it again.
Yeah, they'll tell their friend, exactly, and that's the cost of acquisition goes to zero at that point.
Yes. Yeah. And I think also we should be a lot more bold and proud and yeah, about what we do as an industry. I think we're a little, yeah, it's really good, and all the print industry. By the way, I love them. Don't get me wrong; they're
Yes, no,
fantastic.
me too.
So all the print award things are, everybody pat themselves on the back. It's
Mm,
all the awards for technology, even. And by the way, we do that as well. It's like insular. It's inward looking because it has no relevance or
mm.
place for that end client. Yeah. By the way, we love an award, and we pick up our fair share, which is always good. But no, I think yeah, we are a little bit insular, and it's finding that uh, narrative that connects.
Mm.
I mean, I would hate to say, to a printer, you should do this, and they say, oh yeah, we did that. We tried it once, but it didn't work.
Mm.
It's something you've got to build into your DNA. It's something you've just got to do. And by the way, you'll get knocked back. Of course you will. But you just keep going. And as I say, when I talk to print businesses, when I talk to competitors, when I talk to end users, when I talk, I learn something. I
Mm.
always learn something.
Mm.
It might be I won't do that again, but I learned something.
But that's a good learning, isn't it?
It's a
The,
good
the
learning.
whole, I mean, we throw away fail fast as a sort of a
Yes.
glib expression, but actually it's a really useful thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, it's it's I either win or I learn.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah.
But,
And of course our holy grail to a certain extent, or the gatekeeper, if you like, to the consumer for a lot of what print is capable of doing, the brands, the agencies. Yeah, I'm still not convinced that they're as aware as they should be of what the industry is capable of. And this is a little bit for me in the communication gap. And it's always been quite hard traditionally to get those people to come along to a print show, to a trade event, why? Because it's a trade event, and they say, well, we're not in that trade. But actually, we're all in it, aren't we? Because largely everything we see and touch on any given day, somebody's printed in some shape or form.
yes.
Even if it's the road sign, telling you to slow down,
Oh,
somebody's printed it.
yeah, and increasingly what you wear is printed.
Mm,
The fabric printing and signage and outdoor signage. That it's everywhere, as you say, it's everywhere, and it's
mm,
increasing. Printed electronics. It's
mm,
increasing. But if it's just a warm feeling in our pocket, then
mm.
that doesn't pay the bills.
No.
You've got to get out there and do it. And by the way, it's really, really hard. It's
Mm,
really difficult. I would hate to be saying this and give the idea that Monday morning I'm going to jolly well get up and go and knock on all the agencies' doors in the West End, and by the end of Tuesday I'll be a god, sort of thing. It's
yeah.
not that at all. It's like everything. It takes a bit of thought, it takes a bit of planning, it takes a bit of talking to other people.
Sure.
I will say, the best place to start is with your existing customer.
Mm.
You've already got a relationship. It's not a cold call.
Nope.
Just hey, I was thinking.
Yeah. What
I
else
think
could
I
we?
was thinking.
Did you know? All of it's too for me. It's too reactive. And not
Yeah, we're really good.
yeah.
We're really
But
good at that.
not proactive enough.
Exactly. Yeah, we're
Mm,
really good at reactive. Oh, I
mm.
should have ordered it yesterday. I
Yeah.
forgot. Can you get
Yeah.
it done? Yeah, leave it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
proactive. Yeah, we'd all like to be, of course.
And I know some are, Kevin, and that's
Yeah, no,
as
and that's fantastic. I'd hate
yeah.
to give the idea that that's not the case, but I think is if the volume of print in the marketplace is declining, commercial print, which I'd sort of include digital as well, generally
Mm,
is declining. How are you going to drive the same revenues and profit margins
mm,
on that? And you can look. You have to look in two areas in my mind. One is you have to look to the manufacturing process, and you have to make sure that you're the most automated, integrated, connected. You've got that nailed. And there's some fantastic examples of that in the UK print market.
mm,
Absolutely eyeball-returningly. Wow. You've then, I think, got to be thinking to yourself, by the way, this is a sort of really interesting thing, is how you harness the new technologies and how you harness new working practices, new challenges, So things like, labour, skilled labour, how do you harness, and this is the really interesting one for me, how do you harness things like, people talk about automation. They talk about AI. They talk about these sort of things. All of that is driven, in my mind, by data.
Mm.
So how do you capture the data? How do you capture the data from the shop floor? How do you capture the data, right at the other end, maybe from a campaign? People say, "Oh, you can't track a physical campaign." You can. How can you do that? Well, once you can get all those sort of things together, you can, and now I'm back to the manufacturing things, on the shop floor. How do you make that work so that, you really do deliver the dream of, the perfect product, which print businesses do, quality, price and budget and time and all this sort of stuff. But how do you do it in the most efficient and effective way that you can? And moving forward, that will be highly driven by data, by AI interpreting that data. It'll be driven by AI then driving automation and delivering analytics. And it will go round in a circle. And, those are the print businesses that will flourish and thrive, because that also then gives them a portal to connect to the other side, which is their client. So how do they integrate and connect to the client's data analytics?
Because say having data is only one part of the equation. Is it what you do with it is the other side of it?
What you do with it, how you interpret it, how you and AI is we're in the shallows of AI. If we're on the island,
Yeah. It's gently lapping up against the beach. Yeah.
There you go. Isn't it wonderful? I can get a travel itinerary from ChatGPT. Isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
But when we move into things like generative AI, once one of the big five crack generative AI, and not forget print, but forget the print industry, the whole world will change. And it's how you prepare yourself. Do you prepare yourself for these huge changes while still running a business day to day?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, we keep reading everywhere that AI won't take your job. It will only take the job if you don't take the trouble to understand what AI can do for you. And I think businesses as a whole, and this is, for me, it's another part of the toolkit. It's the same when we went from steam to electricity. The transition is enormous, but actually, when you look at it from a macro perspective, it's only if you understand what it can do and how it can help you, then you can harness it. So it isn't a malevolent force above us. It is another part of the toolkit.
Oh, absolutely, and I think it will be the master tool, the one tool that does everything type thing. But you're quite right. It's how you use it rather than how it uses you.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
It's sort of exciting, but also a little daunting because we don't know. And
but then so was the internet. There's a long history of evolution that we can look back on, and all of those change points, even though we weren't there at most of them, I'm sure people were equally daunted by. So what's this new fire thing that you're talking about? So we've been through so many changes in our history. This is
it'll never catch up.
No, quite. And this will make you smile, because my daughter this year is doing her A-levels, and was told by her teachers that ChatGPT is the new Google. So it's not a cheat device, which I think a lot of people sort of thought that it would be. It will write my essay, because it can't actually write your essay. But as a resource, as a tool, it's as important in education as it is in business, which largely is the same thing. So I think it's a great evolution.
Yes, totally agree. I think though it sort of, I think the challenges will come when, as I say, when it becomes generative, but also, we touched on data driving AI, driving this sort of thing. There's a huge elephant in the room, which is security.
Mm.
and it's how do you secure the data that you're giving? How do you secure the intellectual property that you're giving? Because once you've asked a question, that answer becomes, it's in the public domain.
Yeah,
It will
yeah.
use what you've put into it. I've got this wonderful invention. I just cast your eye over it. Well, it isn't just talking; it's going out
Yeah,
into
sure. Yeah.
into what it is. So, security is going to be well, it is today. Data security is going to be really. So it's a bit dry, I know.
No, it's not actually. I think it's quite fascinating because we and as you know, and you've I've bored you, Richard, from various stages around the world in my time. But and if you're not careful, you perpetrate crime if you don't give the correct nod to the originator of the thing that you're saying. So I could stand there and say, as I once said, we will fight them on the beaches, and you're going, well, I don't think that was you, was it, Rich? So the notion that we have all taken other people's information and reused it for our own purposes is not new. AI is the automated version of that to an extent. I know it's bigger than that, but I like to see things small and simple. So as long as I think, yeah, he says, as long as we use it wisely, but famous last words, it could be phenomenally helpful.
Yeah, I was watching, or I was listening to a podcast, and it was the ex so and so of Google.
Right.
I think it was Google, and the guy said to him, "Well, come the end of this, what jobs will be, what jobs were still going to be available?" And he said, "A plumber." That was it.
Right.
A plumber.
Okay. I need one of those. I can't find one.
No, exactly. So, but we will harness it, as you say. We did so back in the day with fire and steam and electricity. But I think it will be, the next, right on the next level.
Yeah.
But I mean, my kids are sort of late 20s, early 30s, and them and their peers, you get the idea that the next generation coming through, have got their head buried in the phone, and they just live their lives on games and things. No, they don't. There's a crowd that do that.
Yeah,
they're all of them. They're wonderful, intelligent, interesting, engaging, curious kids. I'd like to think in the same way.
Well, 100%. And the only thing that's changed, Kev, is the context, not the principle. So my daughter's coming up 18, as I said, and she doesn't go to the pub like I used to go to the pub on a Monday night to find out what had happened at the weekend, because that was the only way you could find out what had happened at the weekend, was to go to the pub. Yeah. Now they have this device, and it tells them all. So the principle is the same, the curiosity is the same, but the context has changed. And I think and when we look at the industry as a whole, from this privileged view at the top of the lighthouse that we have, I think those that are affecting the change, the not necessarily the quickest, but in the most intelligent way, allowing, we talk an awful lot about print on demand, and allowing consumers to co-brand themselves alongside some of the mega brands and the mega trends, is a brilliant evolution, because that then brings them into the world of print through a different door, but they're still in the same world, and that's changed. In many ways it hasn't changed, other than the context of it.
Yes, no, exactly right. But you remind me, get back onto print.
Sorry,
I was. I was the IPIA, which is one of the associations in the UK. I'm sure you're familiar with. Did run an exercise, great bit of work called New Narrative for Print, and they go out and they've sort of created, in my mind, a sort of a confirmation. Going back to what we were talking about earlier on, that there is absolutely a new market out there. That's realizing that if you want results, just blasting out something on social, or just blasting something out electronically is not necessarily the best way to do it. It might meet a budget, it might give you a warm feeling for a short period of time, but actually longevity of revenue and income and interest and feedback, print has to have a part of it. It might not be the only thing.
No, it's multiple touch points, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
if we're not careful, and I'm sure we're probably not, social media has become like standing next to the shouty bloke in the pub, and you just gradually move away, don't you, and stop listening.
Yes. But you value someone who's gone out their way to come and find you at the pub.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
explain
it's got some
explain
appointment
something.
with you at the pub.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
That
some of the
maybe
you and I have enough wisdom or old age, as I was referred to the other day, to know that it is a variety of things that will win the race. And I think you're doing a brilliant job, and you always have done really at Xerox, Kev, with the way that you're approaching that. What do you see coming down the track from professional hat and personal hat? What do you see coming down the tracks from an industry perspective over there? It's been a difficult few months. Let's call it since Trump was elected. It's been a difficult few months for the industry as a whole. What do you see coming next?
Well, I think just on the political side, and it's not political at all, but disruption gives challenges, but it also opens up opportunities. And don't get burdened with the challenges. Also, make sure you have a look at the opportunities as well. So
wise words.
There's things there. By the way, there's things. I'm a great believer in. People say to me, "Oh, you don't really stress very much." I say, "Well, no," because I've always taken the approach. There's things you can do and things you can't. If it's something you can do, do it. If it's something you can't, working for a larger organisation, you escalate it.
Yes, find somebody else
who's paid a little bit more than you are, who can take the burden of it. So if you can do it, if you can't, so pick the things that you can do. Don't worry about the things you can't. I think that for the broader print industry, so I'm probably including us as well. I mean, Xerox are going through a 3-year reinvention, and we're about halfway through. And I think it's been there have been times when it's been a little bit uncomfortable. There have been times when you've gone, "Wow, it's fantastic! I'm holding on, and we're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. It's really exciting stuff." But the whole industry needs to shape itself, and I'd like for the future. We need to not be thinking back. Always say, use less of the rearview mirror and more of the windscreen. And well, if you're a large organisation, that takes some courage, because you've got a direction of travel, you've got a momentum that's going, and hey, we're doing pretty well here. So to change was, I think, a really bold move. It's not an overnight thing. I say, reinvention, a revolution happens overnight. A reinvention takes a little bit longer.
Sure.
But I'd like to think as we come out of it, we're far, far, far better positioned to move forward with things like, the automation, the AI, the integration, all those things, not just having a portfolio of printing presses that do 100 pages a minute or 150 pages a minute, cost this and do that. Yeah, that's really important. It's really important. But it's not the whole thing. We're talking about being on the island. They say, no man is an island. Well, no press is an island. If all you do is buy the press, then you come in and switch the the light on a Monday morning, you've just got a press.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
It's all the things that sit around it. It's that sort of ecosystem that sits around it of tools and integration and AI and service engineers and logistics, the whole thing. And it's making sure that that's fit for purpose for the next 10 and 15 years.
Yeah, sure.
Not fit for purpose for 5-10 years ago.
No.
So Xerox were doing that. My call to that part of the industry is, as the market changes and shapes itself, the industry, the manufacturers, the OEMs, whatever, we need to make sure that we're aligned with that future opportunity. So, that's that. I think for print businesses, number one, as always, is keep the business going.
Keep the lights on. Yeah.
Keep the lights on. Look wider. And the best place to look, as we touched on earlier on, in my mind, is through your client's eyes. Have a look and see what they're thinking about. Get into their mindset as what's important to them. And if you do that, find other services and things that you can do to them to take a little bit of that load off their back. It may take you into areas that you're not familiar with, and if you've got a great relationship with your client, then partner with someone who can help you do that. Reach out and get yourself an ecosystem of suppliers who do that. The industry's changed quite radically in the last sort of 4 or 5 years as far as trade's concerned. So you've got the big trade printers who are geared up. Their manufacturing capabilities are eye-watering. Why, if you're a smaller printer that hasn't got litho, why turn away litho? Get someone else to do it, but you own it. You own it for the client. That's the most important thing, that relationship. So, make sure that make sure you're tied there as well. For print businesses, like any business, make sure that you're putting time aside. The Americans say, work in the business, but make sure you've put business time aside to work on the business. And I know about 10 years ago we were talking. We used to talk about getting the things right. And it was the right. Get the right technology, get the right workflow, get the right business model. The trouble with it, in my mind, is around the wrong way. You should get your right business model. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
What do your clients do?
Yeah.
Are you aligned with them? What's their plans? Big customer. Their plan might be to ship their business out to the Far East. What are you going to do now? You're not in control.
Yeah, exactly.
At least be aware of it. So
you got to be.
So get yourself time to work on the business. Get yourself a business plan. One side of an A4 sheet.
That'll do.
It's just good enough.
Yeah.
Where you're going, then bring your business with you. Tell everybody in the business what you're doing, where you're thinking, and then you've got two really easy things. It's like, firstly, buy the infrastructure, the workflow, the IT, the integrations that deliver that, and then the really, really easy thing is that you buy a press that will deliver all of that. Sounds really easy, but
it does, doesn't it? And it brings to mind a pilot friend of mine who, and I'm not the best flyer in the world. I'm okay, but I don't particularly enjoy it. And I'd rather understand more about it. I'd rather be flying the plane than actually sitting at the back. And I asked him one day, when the plane suddenly drops or shakes or whatever it does, why aren't you telling us what's going on? And he said there are 3 rules in being a pilot, and you follow those because your life and everybody's life depends on it. You navigate, you aviate, and then you communicate. In other words, work out how to get out of the trouble you're in, fly there, and then tell people that's where you are. And I think the print industry could do quite well with those three words in their locker, couldn't they? Really?
Absolutely. And again, don't get me wrong. There's lots of businesses out there that drive and push, and they're absolutely fantastic. But for those that may be thinking about what their next move is, what the next direction is, so it's good advice. That's good advice. Take advice to the pilot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like on a plane, strap yourself in because it could be a bumpy ride.
There is that, yeah, exactly. Final thing today, Kevin, and I know because I've had a number of guests join me in the Lighthouse that I've asked this question to, and they've looked at me and gone, "I've no idea what you're talking about," but I know you will. So as we are here today on Print Island, cast away in the middle of nowhere, and you will know, as I do, Desert Island Discs as a principle. What's the one luxury item that you would bring with you to Print Island?
I go walking, and actually my number one podcast is Desert Island Discs.
There you go.
It's absolutely fantastic. So, so I've got the book and the works of Shakespeare and all this sort of thing. So, my luxury item, I think I would like A nice sun lounger.
Okay, somewhere comfy to sit.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
can survey the shore, watch out for passing ships. And
Okay.
if there's not one there, I can sort of roll over, have a little bit of a snooze, and top the tanner.
I like it. I like it. So it's information and napping. That's perfect. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Well, listen. Thank you. You've been a fabulous guest today on Print Island. Thank you for joining me. It's lovely to see you. I know you're going away on holiday the weekend. Where's the next thing work wise? Where are you heading off to next?
I haven't got anything planned at the moment, but we've got Print United coming up in mid-October in the States. So we've got some really exciting announcements there. So getting all that in gear, and my American colleagues are doing a fantastic job in pulling that together. We then sort of move into the award season, which is always enjoyable, but it's a great time to get together with your clients and I was saying earlier on, find out what's going on as well. And just sort of looking forward to a strong close and deep breath. Start all over again.
keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. We're good at that.
Excellent. Yeah, exactly. And at least less we should forget. So, listen, thank you so much, Kevin O'Donnell from Xerox, for joining me on Print Island today, and particularly for climbing the stairs and joining me at the top of the Lighthouse. I really appreciate it. It's nice to see you.
Welcome, Richard. You take care, my friend.
Thank you, and you.